It's going to be one of those weeks which starts quite active and dynamic, but gradually begins to show signs of slowing down and even changing. So today's special weekly highlights episode is going to dive into the key points of what this means, right after I show you a really interesting fact. You may have not realized this, but the incredibly rare and record-breaking snowstorm that occurred along the US Gulf Coast several days ago actually crossed the Atlantic Ocean and morphed into what became Storm Eowyn, producing damaging wind gusts in Ireland and the UK, including a record-breaking wind gust of 183 kilometers per hour on Ireland's west coast. To make this all even more interesting, the very same outbreak of extremely cold air which sank all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, making that historic snowstorm possible, also supercharged the jet stream. So with the help of the leftover energy from that former snowstorm in the US, Eowyn was born. In a way, even though these were two distinct meteorological events, they were indeed related, breaking records from one side of the Atlantic to the other. Now back to current and upcoming weather. Storm Herminia didn't waste much time after Eowyn's departure and has already brought widespread strong wind, rain, and large waves to parts of Western Europe. Here's an example of what things were already looking like in Portugal by Sunday afternoon. Herminia and a couple other elements moving along with it will of course be highlight number one of the week, so look out for more widespread disruptive weather from this large and slow-moving mass of low pressure, particularly in the western half of Europe through Tuesday. But even as the dominant low pressure system weakens, you're going to start to notice a few other distinct systems break off into different directions into the second half of the week. Impacts including heavy rain can be expected, especially in parts of southern Europe today, tomorrow, and even into Wednesday and Thursday as far east as portions of Greece and maybe Turkey, but locally heavy downpours and some thunderstorms in places like Ireland, the UK, France, and Iberia could still be a flood concern on already saturated ground. Heavy snowfall is also expected, but this is going to be confined to higher terrain in southern Europe as well as the UK. Lighter snow should fall across most of Norway, Sweden, and Finland. Very large and dangerous waves also remain a threat from Southern Ireland and the UK down into France, and most significantly across north and west facing coasts of Portugal and Spain. This is where waves could exceed 7, 8, 9, and even 10 meters in height in the white and light purple shades. The large wind field will continue to be felt despite a weakening trend from Iberia up to Southern Ireland and the UK, and as usual, many mountainous and coastal areas are going to see the highest wind speeds. Last but not least, the system has produced a lot of thunderstorms, and you can see the majority of them along this corridor to the south of the low pressure center, affecting portions of France and the UK. I would expect this overall trend to persist even as all of this pushes east. Don't be surprised if we see some hail and even isolated tornadoes as well. Now, the second highlight is an interesting one because this is when we reach a turning point in the pattern. Yes, it's going to start off with yet another Atlantic storm hitting Europe directly, but it's also going to be the last significant one for at least some time. After Portugal, Spain, France, and even Northern Africa feel the effects of this throughout the second half of the week, the third and final highlight is going to be that pattern change, and you can see it begin to take shape as early as Friday, the final day of January, when the pest from the west makes another attempt at throwing more rain in our direction, but instead of it moving in with ease, it finally encounters some pushback, all thanks to the return of high pressure. How effective will this be in blocking more unsettled weather from the Atlantic? Will it last a long time? And what other effects could the return of high pressure have on Europe in general? Well, the answers to those questions are unclear at this time, but if you're interested in finding out how this could affect next week's weather, make sure you stick around for my upcoming forecasts.